Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. So I thought I would do another one of these videos where I sort of do a roundup and answer a couple of emails quickly, as I've got some sort of short answer emails here. And I did another one of these earlier. I got a point. Where am I pointing? Anyway, you can probably check out the video here. I talked about a bunch of different subjects, but I thought I would do another since that one was somewhat popular. Some of you liked it, some of you didn't like it, but I won't be doing these all the time, but this will help me to answer a few more questions. And I thought there were some shorter things in here that's worth answering. So this first one is about requesting advice from transitioning from senior to junior developer. And it's from Avi, and he says, I found your YouTube channel after getting laid off from a huge engineering company and looking for career advice for developers. I've watched quite a few of your videos and they have been very informative for me. I bought your book and I'm currently reading it. I'm in the career section. It's been helpful to me to take some time to think about and set goals like you recommend. I'm also convinced of the value in specializing as you recommend. I won't read the whole thing. You can read it if you want. But he says basically he's shifting to web development from a developer, as a senior developer writing math libraries for C and C++ internal use. And he's got limited experience as a web developer, small portfolio, and he's currently working through the Udacity. I keep wanting to say Udacity. In my popular video on Udacity, which you can check out here, I say Udacity, so a lot of people point that out. Okay. Anyway, so he says he's working through a senior web developer nano degree to pick up those technologies. So he wants to know advice on making the transition. Should he try to find a junior mid-level position immediately? Should he work towards a degree? Should he do that first? And then, is there a better use of his time in becoming a web developer? And then he's got about a year and a half worth of expenses saved up. But he's a sole income earner for his family. So, Avi, I would say this. Basically, well, it's great that you have this income saved up. That's going to be awesome. But don't tap into this. If you've been writing, if you've been a senior developer doing math libraries for C and C++, that's probably some fairly complicated stuff that is probably more complicated than web development. What I would recommend for web development is large. You've got the ability, right? I mean, if you've been programming math libraries in C and C++, trust me, you've got more than enough ability, more capability than probably most programmers. But what you need is a specific set of skills in a specific set of technology. So pick out some web development framework, stack, whatever appeals to you, and specialize in that. Start learning that. Don't just try and learn a bunch of different web development technologies. Instead, focus on learning how to use a specific stack and to get specialized in that, and then immediately start applying for positions as soon as you have even a basic level of expertise in a particular stack. But make sure that you're specialized. I always talk about being specialized. Again, I'll point to my playlist on why specialization is important. There's so many videos I've done on this topic, but do that. And then, and I would go probably right into a senior position. I think you probably can. I mean, maybe you take a mid-level position, but I think with the experience that you probably have, that you should be able to get a higher level position as long as you have the basic competence. Because, the programming skill set, having the experience is more important than the specific technology. But you do need to have a specific technology in order to get the job. So if you have basically, a very small amount of experience with a particular web development stack or technology, but you have a wide array of experience developing algorithms, writing in C and C++, I think that you're going to find plenty of jobs where they'll hire you based on that. So it makes sense to do the Udacity Senior Web Developer Nano degree. Why not? That's going to help you probably. But make sure that you specifically train and focus to be specific, right? Web development is large. It's growing larger and larger every day. Don't try to become an expert in web development. If you've been doing web development for 10 years, maybe you could be an expert in a bunch of different areas and know a lot of stuff about it. But even that would be a challenge. But because you haven't come from that background, be very specific at what you learn and realize that you're going to, it might seem overwhelming, but you're going to be able to apply the same skills. And what you're probably doing with C and C++ in developing math libraries is probably more difficult than web development once you start to get the hang of it. So All right, let's move on here. So this next question, so totally different. Renting without credit. So this email is from Nikita, and she says, "My name is Nikita. I recently graduated from high school, and I have been studying code full time for about a year now. I study from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. Wow, and feel ready enough to start my career. Since I'm pursuing this non-traditional route of becoming a web developer and I'm going to put off getting a degree for a few years, my family has shunned me. That's unfortunate. This means I'm going to have to move out. I know I could get a co-signer, but I would prefer to use this as a last resort option since I don't want to put any of my good relationships into a shaky position. How would I go about finding a place to rent or buy without having any credit history? Any tips, advice, or anything else that would be much appreciated? I have a few months to figure this out since I'm 17 and can't legally move out for another month. But I do already have a few offers lined up, so it's just a matter of sorting this out, this slight no credit dilemma. The offers are in the 50K range, so it wouldn't be hard to live off. Thank you, Nikita. So Nikita, first of all, awesome. I mean, I wish that I had your wisdom at the age of 17. not only to be in work ethic, to be studying from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day, but to realize that you have to go your own way, and that if people aren't going to support you, you're going to do your own thing. Even though your family shun you, it requires some strength. That's unfortunate. I would say that don't hold it against them necessarily, because it's, ignorance. They don't understand. They think that a lot of people have this path and way in life that they think is right. And it's because it's what's been preached to them, and they want to see you go down that path, partially because they feel like that's what's best for you, but partially because they're scared, and that's their limiting beliefs. That's what they believe is right. And you're a threat to them. This is an unconscious thing, but unconsciously you're a threat to them when you break out of that mold. So, it's the crabs in the bucket. People are going to try to hold you down. So it's good that you've recognized that. As far as renting a place or buying a place without credit history. So I actually have experience in this. When I bought my first house, I was 19. And I had no credit, basically no credit. And I had to really shop around. I mean, I found a house that was fairly cheap to buy, and no one would give me financing. I finally found this one lender that would do it if I came up with this down payment and give me this ridiculous, I think it was a 13% interest rate at the time, with a prepay penalty, a 2-year prepay penalty. But I did it because I said this will be better than not doing this. I can pay this high interest rate for 2 years and whatnot, and then I can refinance later when I have some credit. So it's possible. It may take a lot of work. I don't know in this market if it's become more difficult to do something like that. So maybe it's not. You should definitely start building up your credit history. Get a credit card that you pay off every month, and that will help to build your credit history, and do a few things. You can do some research. You're a smart person. Do some research on how to build your credit history. You can probably even talk to some companies that help you to do that. But so I won't go into the details there. As far as renting without credit, that really shouldn't be a problem. And I mean, you've got a few options. At your age, it probably I would try to get into some kind of a roommate situation. I know it's not the most popular thing, but I wouldn't be going the place where you're going to need credit history is luxury apartments, which you shouldn't be renting out, because it's not going to make sense. Even if 50K sounds like a lot of money to you right now. It's not, though. You need to be saving as much of that and being able to invest that and invest in yourself, invest in your future as possible. And so you need to reduce your cost of living as much as possible. So I would try to find a roommate situation. Plus, that can be beneficial from the social aspect. If not, then at least something that's a cheap rent, which you can probably find, which is not going to require a credit history. If you're worried about that, if they're saying, well, we're running your credit and you don't have any credit, that's probably okay. As someone who rents out rental properties, someone not having credit is okay by me, as long as they don't have bad credit, right? Someone who has bad credit, that's going to be horrible, especially if they're just starting out. And I would say that also, if you write a letter to go along, explaining your situation, explaining what you're doing, why you're doing it, that you're studying, that you just got this job, that you're 17, really paint the best picture of yourself as possible, you're going to find some place to rent. It's not going to be a problem. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. But do the research. Definitely get your credit history up. It's important, especially for your future. But hopefully that helps you. And good job. I mean, keep going. This is you seem to be on the right track, and seem to have wisdom beyond your years. So okay, then I'll give one more email question here. So this one is from Muhammad, and he says, "Hi, dear John. First of all, I want to thank you for your great videos and your honesty. I want to ask you something about my life and life in general, and I know we'll know that life isn't fair at all." Okay, so that's a good way to start, because we should realize that. If you don't realize life isn't fair, gosh, you're going to be in for a lot of pain. So I'll talk a little bit later about my life so you can get to capture the picture. I studied computer science in my last year. The education here is so bad. That's why I consider myself a self-learner. I'm not sure where he's from, but I've learned coding on my own. I love the .NET and C#. I can say I'm good at them. My problem here is that I'm a very intelligent person with a very powerful, logical, analytical mind. IQ 140 plus, INTJ-P. Okay. You can check out my personality quiz here if you're interested. Anyway, he says, I'm an atheist person as well, and I live among Muslims. Even my family rejected me. That's unfortunate. So many families reject. It upsets me. But I really want to travel and live somewhere else in peace and finding a job. My question is, how can I get a visa sponsorship, C#, WPF, UWP job online so I can travel for working and eventually stick there and starting a new life? I have no experience because there's no jobs here, but I'm good. I've watched a lot of courses. I've read books. I practice with my own, but I don't know how the real work will be. If I wish you can help me with any advice, resources, links, a charity, etc. I know this question is too much way out of what you've been talking about in your channel, but I decided to give it a try. Thanks for anything. P.S. I guess you figured out how much pain, depression, negative thoughts like committing suicide I'm dealing with for almost 4 years. So a couple of things here. I definitely wanted to answer this because of it is typically not something I would do like a full video on, but I think there's a few points in here that I want to talk about. First of all, it's unfortunate that families, you see this, right? And I'm pointing this out in 2 emails here because I know it's that theme, but your family is going to reject you when you choose a different path. And you're going to have to be willing to accept that. It's unfortunate that people do this, that when we don't go along with what people want or expect from us, that they tend to reject us and isolate, especially, a lot of parents do that to their children. It's not, it's not the best, but you got to realize that it's going to happen. The other thing here is, so let's talk about being an atheist. I'd encourage you, Mahmoud. I thought it said Muhammad. Mahmoud. Anyway, I'd encourage you to consider being instead of being like an atheist, to be agnostic. And I'll tell you why, because some people would disagree with this, but atheist is kind of a hopeless viewpoint. There is no God. There's nothing. Wherever you go backwards in history, there's something. I don't know what it is, right? I don't know. I'm not trying to say, pick a particular religion necessarily, but it's hard to live life without any kind of hope. And, you might as well make your bet on the agnostic viewpoint rather than the total atheist viewpoint. You might as well say, I don't know what the answer is, but there's definitely some divine, because when you look at humanity, when you look at people, when you look at the world, there's some divine spark, whether it be a single entity, whether it be whatever you believe. I'm not trying to influence your belief, but I think belief in nothing is a detrimental belief to anyone. Again, not promoting a particular religion or ideological viewpoint, but I would say that having some kind of belief, even if you're wrong, is going to be much more beneficial in your life than having no belief at all. Even if your belief is simply to say, I don't know, but I know that there's something out there. But, I don't want to sidetrack too much, but I did want to bring that up because I think a lot of people could benefit from realizing that point, that, hey, I don't want to sidetrack again too much, but if you go backwards in time, if you go backwards and you say, well, what came before that? Our cause and effect universe, there's somewhere along the line, it's either miraculous that some dot exploded in Big Bang, whatever, or that someone created that or something created that, right? It's like there's some causeless effect. And that causeless effect is mystical in nature. We can't escape that in our current reality. So it's worth considering that, I think. What you think that causeless effect is, I don't know. And the reason why I'm going here is because I feel like, you've mentioned the pain, depression, negative thoughts, like committing suicide. And I feel like this is something that can help you at least explore some things, but don't just give up totally and believe that, and people do not believe this. Again, I don't want to, I keep on sidetracking, but I think this is an important point, is that people who claim to be atheists aren't really atheists because they don't do whatever the hell they want. And I mean, like, if you are truly atheist, if you truly believe that there's nothing and that there's no cause, there's no purpose, then you would do whatever benefits you as much as possible, and you would not care about anyone, because you can rationalize however you want, but your behavior would be very different. There are some people that act that way, but most of them don't survive very long. So anyway, let's get to the actual question here, and I'm not going to have a good answer for this. I'm going to tell you right now. How can you get a visa sponsorship without any experience, coming from probably a third world country? I'm saying, because you say there's no jobs here. It's not going to happen. Okay. But I don't mean to say this to discourage you. What I'm saying, what I do mean to say is that you're going to have to find another path, another way. You're going to have to either get experience and a lot of experience and build up a portfolio, or you're going to have to go your own way. I mean, I don't know what entrepreneurship opportunities. I mean, obviously you're on the internet, so that you probably have at least some way to earn money, either freelancing or building your own application or becoming an entrepreneur of some sort. But that's the path that, especially with your high intelligence, and self-learning, I would go that route if I were you. I think that's probably the best route for you. You got to figure out some way, and maybe you have a progression step. Maybe you figure out a way to get, I don't have experience in this, but maybe you can work in some other field to be able to get out of the country, the situation you're in, and to be able to get some kind of chance or an opportunity. But I don't want to give you false hope. You're not going to get a job doing C#, WPF, UWP, a visa sponsored job without experience. It's just not going to happen. It is going to be hard even if you have experience, right? It's very hard to do. So anyway, that's why your strategy needs to be, you need to have a lot of hope, a lot of faith, and you've got to figure out an alternative route. Again, I don't know enough about your situation to give you exact advice, but I want to make sure that you understand that what you're trying to do, what you want to do is probably not going to be, it's not a good avenue to pursue. It's probably going to be extremely difficult and not possible. I don't think it's really possible. So anyway, don't mean to leave that on a down note. That's it for the questions. I think that I've answered pretty much everything that I plan to do today. So if you like these type of videos, let me know. I'll do these from time to time, but I'll generally stick to my normal format. And if you like the channel, subscribe. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.